Hello everyone, I'm Carly, and I have no idea what we're doing today.
And I'm Sam, and welcome to my school book presentation.
And welcome to Read Receipts with Carly and Sam, our book-based podcast covering all the latest hits and some stories off the beaten path.
With a few fun and exclusive episodes mixed in between. Carly, are you so excited for today's podcast episode?
I am excited. I'm a little nervous since, as I said before, I don't know what's going on.
Yes.
But I am very excited. I have full faith in what is about to happen is going to be good.
I'm pretty excited. I think you're going to love it, honestly.
Yeah, the sooner that I can be on the know and on the in of what's going on, the better I'm going to feel.
Sure.
So I can't wait.
If it makes you feel better, our audience also has no idea what's going on. And they probably have no idea why you don't have any idea what's going on.
Yeah, so let me go ahead and explain what exactly we're doing today and why I feel so unprepared for what's about to happen. Mm-hmm. You might recall that in the past we have had an off-the-shelf episode, a classic called I Read, You Read. And today we're going to do a bit of a spin-off of that called I Read, You Listen, where in this episode, Sam has done all the reading, and I just have to listen.
Hence my school book presentation intro.
Yeah.
I have done all of the reading for today's episode. I've combed through the book that we're going to be covering today, and I've also done some off-the-page research about the author and, let's just say, some certain controversies surrounding the book that we are covering.
So, Sam, do you want to tell us more about what book we're going to be talking about?
Yes, I'm pretty excited to get into this. Today, we'll be covering the young adult fantasy romance Handbook for Mortals by Lani Sarem. I think I'm saying that right.
Hopefully.
Maybe it's Lani. There was a foreword in the book that said her name was like Annie with an L. So maybe it's Lani. Okay. Lani Sarem. So here's the book for our visual listeners on YouTube. I'm going to be reading the back of the book summary, which is so exciting. I never get to read the back of the book summary.
Honestly.
Zaid Holder has always been a free-spirited young woman from a long dynasty of tarot card readers, fortune tellers, and practitioners of magic with a K. Okay, that's important.
Okay.
Growing up in a small town and never quite fitting in, Zaid is determined to forge her own path. She leaves her home in Tennessee to break free from her overprotective mother, Della, the local resident spellcaster and fortune teller. Zaid travels to Las Vegas and uses supernatural powers to become part of a premier magic show led by the infamous magician Charles Spellman. Zaid fits right in with his troupe of artists and misfits. After all, when everyone is slightly eccentric, appearing normal is much less important. Behind the scenes of this multi-million-dollar production, Zaid finds herself caught in a love triangle with Mac, the show's good-looking but rough-around-the-edges technical director, and Jackson, the tall, dark, handsome, and charming band leader. Zaid's secrets and the struggle to choose between Mac or Jackson creates reckless tension during the grand finale of the show. Using chaos magic, which is known for being unpredictable, she tests her abilities as a spellcaster farther than she's ever tried, and finds herself at death's door. Her fate is left in the hands of a mortal who does not believe in a world of real magic, a fortune teller who knew one day Zaid would put herself in danger, and a dagger with mystical powers.
Interesting. Definitely not what I was expecting when you said fantasy.
Yes. So as mentioned in the summary, we have some of the characters that we're going to try and keep an eye out for. So Zaid, our main character, Mac and Jackson, the two love interests, Charles, he's the guy, I guess, behind the whole like theater production of the show.
Like the director, kind of?
Kind of, yeah.
But he's also on stage. This is the like, his last name was like Spellbinder or something.
Yes. Charles, and then Della, who is Zaid's mother.
Okay,
so those are kind of the characters that we want to keep an eye out for.
I already have some things in my head that I'm like,
questions already.
Like, should I bring them up now or should I wait for them to maybe come up in terms of the story? But okay, so the fact that you said that she comes from like a tarot reading family, which is like, okay, interesting, cool. But then it's like, she's different though. But then she moves to Las Vegas to still kind of be in that same world.
Yes.
Like, I would be like, okay, clearly she's different if it's like her parents are dentists and she's into this. But I'm like, how different is she? So far, I'm like, I'm like, what are the differences if she's so different that she has to leave?
That's a great question. We'll get a little bit into that, but it does have something to do with the magic, with a K, that she practices.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'm ready.
Okay. Oh, before we do, I love Carly just like got comfortable. She was like, okay, let me put my feet up.
Yeah.
I love that. Before we do get into it, I almost forgot that I want to give our full spoiler warning before I start talking about like what exactly happens chapter to chapter, because we are still covering a full book with all of its characters and its plot lines. So that of course means that our spoiler warning is still very much in effect. You've been warned.
You've been warned. We're about to get into it.
Okay, so we typically start our like book club episodes with our overall rating of the book, but I'm just going to go ahead and give you the sort of Goodreads online rating from what everyone else has kind of said about the book. Handbook for Mortals on Goodreads is rated 1.3 stars.
That is impressive.
It is a different kind of impressive, huh? I'm going to start getting into the story and kind of what exactly unfolds in the book, and then we can kind of discuss whether or not we feel that this is an accurate rating.
Okay.
Starting off kind of chapter 0, there's a chapter 0, which is like kind of like a prologue, but really I feel like she could have just said that it was chapter 1. But we basically start out with Zaid and her mother having a conversation in Tennessee, where Zaid is from. She's from Centertown, Tennessee, which I'm not entirely sure if that's a real place or not, but it very well could be, because as we get into the story, you'll find that actually a lot of the places and the characters are real.
Oh.
So... yeah. So
did you say characters too?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
Interesting.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes. So we start out with Zaid and her mother, Della, having a conversation. Zaid has decided that she is going to leave Centertown for Las Vegas so that she can go perform. And her mother is not about it. And we don't really know why. Like, we don't really find out exactly, like, why her mother is not a fan of her going, but she's going to go anyway. And they kind of get into, like, a little bit of an argument, but it sort of settles, and then it kind of ends with her leaving and going to Las Vegas.
Oh, so, okay.
But I do want to real quick kind of give you a short little paragraph read of what it was like reading this book. Okay? Because the vibes with how it was written, to be honest, kind of felt like somebody who was writing their first draft and then either chose not to or forgot to edit it. Okay. Here's a sample.
Okay.
People tell me I'm pretty all the time.
Did you write this?
Beautiful, even. I'm not sure I see what they see. I think I'm more of a cute, average-looking girl. I'm slender, but I do not believe most would say skinny. Not hot girl skinny, at least. I have long legs that are toned, but I think my thighs are too large, and I do not have a thigh gap. My arms are kind of flabby, and while I do have an hourglass figure, I've always felt my butt is a little too big and my face a bit too round.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Please, react.
So do you happen to know how old she was when she wrote this? Because it's giving 16-year-old on Tumblr trying to sound interesting, but it's actually just kind of accidentally revealing how insecure she is. And like, which don't get me wrong, like obviously, like I think that when you're growing up as a woman, like you do think a lot about your body, and that is unfortunately something that is normal in our society. But,
yeah.
oh man.
That is a great question, though. I have no idea how old Lani Sarem was when she wrote this book. I think it was written in, I want to say 2017. Yeah.
So a while ago.
But I'm not sure how old she is. And to be honest, I'm not really sure how old our main character Zaid is. So this is from Zaid's perspective. Her writing all of this and saying, well, I'm not hot skinny.
Yeah. You did say it was young adult, right?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, it definitely rings like high schooler, but also if she's like moving away on her own.
She's moving away on her own, so I think I imagined her at least being like maybe in her early 20s. Or I mean, I guess at least 18.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
So
that's fair.
She could be around that age. But I did want to read that passage out specifically because this passage was on page, I want to say like 4, maybe 5. So pretty early on in the book. This is kind of the type of writing that you can expect to find in the rest of the book. Because to be honest, it doesn't really change much from this.
Oh, man.
Like, this is pretty much how the rest of the book is written.
I am so sorry.
Yeah. And even moving forward in a lot of the passages, there is a lot of like extra explaining that happens. There's a lot of telling and not a lot of showing. A lot of the times a passage will say something like, oh, this is something that's happening in the show. Let me explain what that is. And it will like give you almost a dictionary explanation of like what a stagehand does.
Very interesting choice. I do think that there are some things like that. It's like, while the people don't necessarily know what it is, yeah, I think there are ways of kind of giving them enough information.
Yes.
Without reading off a definition for them.
Yes. So now let's get into what actually happens in the book. Okay, so that was our chapter 0. Chapter 1, we have Zaid in Las Vegas. She meets Charles Spellman, the theater owner. Sophia, his girlfriend. Mac, who is young, handsome, but also doesn't like her. Zeb, who has red hair and is old.
Nice.
Some of these notes that I wrote down about the explanations for these characters.
It's like, this is what I took away from this.
This is what I took away from this. Pete, who also goes by Trig, is the show caller. Cam is handsome. We have Zaid. We have Beth, who is the assistant to Charles. We have Riley, who is a stagehand / crew member, and Tad, who is also a stagehand / crew member. In chapter 1, Zaid also does an illusion. So she performs, I don't know if this is like her audition necessarily, because it kind of feels like they're already, or at least Charles is already committed to having her be a part of the show. But it may be like her audition, essentially. So she performs this illusion. Essentially, she says that she has some special skills, quote unquote, in addition to reading tarot. And her illusion essentially has her jumping off of the stage into a pool of water. And there's some fire as well that's involved.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, when she gets in the water, can no one see her in the water?
Well, it's like she gets in the water and then like comes out of the water.
Oh.
And then there's like fire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, so is this magic?
So, well, she jumps off of like a very high railing and like it's supposed to be like you can't see any, like it looks like she's gonna hit the ground.
Oh.
But instead she like jumps into water.
Gotcha.
And then like comes out of it and then there's like fire.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And it's an illusion.
Okay.
And Mac is very upset about this because he is supposed to be in charge of making sure everything is running safely, like all of the performers are safe and all of that. And Zaid won't tell him like how she managed to perform this illusion because she has special skills, quote unquote, and that's how she performed it. So he's very upset that she's not telling him about the illusion. And she's like, well, magicians never reveal their secrets.
It's like, well, for legal reasons.
Sorry, I can't. So then Charles says, okay, well, Zaid will just tell me how she did the illusion, and I won't tell anybody else, but I'll make sure that it's safe.
Okay.
And Zaid is like, okay, fine, I'll do that.
Okay, fine. Who let this teenager be in the show?
Yeah. We've got some other things that also happen aside from that. That's like the main important thing that kind of happens in chapter 1. Sophia is Charles's girlfriend, like I mentioned earlier. she is not a big fan of Zayd, doesn't like Zayd. There's some... I don't really know exactly what to call it other than like teenage drama of Sophia being like, don't talk to Charles.
Okay. How old is Charles?
Old.
And so he has like a young girlfriend?
Like daddy old.
Oh my God. Ew. Me who likes an age gap. Ew.
It's just an age gap, Carly. This is mentioned a lot in the first couple of chapters, that Zayd has special skills that she cannot tell anyone. But we don't know what they are. And she won't tell anybody except for Charles, who said, okay, fine, she'll tell me. And no one else.
Okay.
Zayd was like, okay, I'll tell you. And no one else. Because no one can know about my special skills.
Mm-hmm. Father Charles can know, but no one else.
But no one else. Hold on to that thought. So Lil, the costume person who is in charge of dressing Zayd for the shows, is starting to pry about Zayd's secret. And Zayd's like, no, like, it's my secret.
No, I can't tell
I have secret abilities and I cannot tell anyone. Meanwhile, she's still fighting with Mac, who, as we mentioned earlier, is one of her like love interests. She's still fighting with him about the fact that she won't tell him about how she did the illusion because she can't, because she's got special skills.
Yes.
So Mac, I don't remember why, I think is like looking for her, and he happens to see her talking to Lil, getting dressed for the show. So he sees her in her underwear.
Okay.
And then I wrote, but you're not super hot. As a quote. So I guess...
Who said that?
Mac.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because he was caught staring at her. But then he says, but she's not like super hot. Describing why he would be like looking at her.
Yeah. It's like, it's not like she's super hot or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that...
I don't know why that was included. And I think I wrote a note about it because I was like, why...
That's so weird.
Did that need to be in there?
Yeah, why are we so focused on like how hot she is? Like what kind of hot is she?
From our description that I read earlier from the book, and that was like from the book, word for word, we know kind of how obsessed we are with the descriptions of not only what Zayd looks like, but it happens for all the characters, if I'm being honest.
Oh, okay.
So, mostly for Zayd. This specific type of description
Naturally.
is for her only.
Yeah.
I mean, naturally, she's the main character, of course.
Of course.
Zayd also has a conversation with Jackson, who is the band leader. Jackson and Zayd talk about how he plays the guitar and she also plays the guitar. And Jackson says that it is hot.
Nice.
I wrote, thinks it's hot that Zayd can play the guitar.
Yeah. Again, we're so focused on how hot she could be.
So again, yeah.
Jackson's like, Cam, you're wrong. She's hot.
Hot.
Actually, I'm going to place my bets now on which one I think she ends up with.
Oh, okay, perfect.
I think I am... It's hard because I think that... I feel like it would make the most sense if by the end of it, like, she comes to, like, some sort of conflict resolution with Cam. But I feel like this is...
Do you mean Mac?
Sorry, Mac. Who's Cam?
This other guy that was flirting with her, but I think he's just a flirt.
Oh, okay, but he's the one that saw her
He's just
in underwear, right?
No, that was Mac.
That was Mac, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think in terms of the story, what should happen is that it should be Mac. Mm-hmm. But I do think that's some major points probably with her that Jackson called her hot to her face.
Versus Mac saying, you're not that hot.
You're not that hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's not hot.
So, I don't know. I guess I'm going to put my bets on Mac.
Okay.
Which I know is like, backwards thinking right now, but if I'm thinking of like a normal story, I'm just like, as the story's going to progress, I would expect that it's going to be Mac at the end.
Sure.
And that Jackson's going to bungle this.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Okay.
That makes sense. Well, now we're moving into chapter 4, and a lot of my notes for chapter 4 were more so how the book was written. So I notice at this point, like we talked about, there's so much explaining going on, and I wrote a note about that. I said so much explaining. So at this point, we're coming to the realization that this is just how the book is written.
Yeah, this is just what we're in for.
There's just a lot of description, a lot of over-explaining. That's just kind of what we have here. We also are starting to be more cognizant of all of the typos. So like I mentioned earlier, it really started to feel, even from the beginning, like it was a book that was just written and people either decided not to edit it or forgot to edit it. And now we come to the realization that there was definitely a lack of editing.
Yeah.
There are several typos, and we become more and more cognizant of it as we continue reading, starting here in chapter 4.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of repetition of literally the same sentence.
Interesting. Like what?
So we have a situation where in chapter 4, Riley, who is a stagehand, essentially, he's a rigger.
Okay.
And Sophia, Charles's girlfriend, who also performs in the show, are talking about her doing a performance, an act. Mm-hmm. And she's not wearing her harness. Okay, and they're arguing about it. And it says, Sophia is not wearing her harness. And then later, Riley is talking to her. They're arguing about it. And Riley goes, Sophia, you're not wearing your harness. And then later, when Sophia, there is some sort of accident where she like kind of falls off. And it says, this happens because Sophia is not wearing her harness.
It's like, we get it. We get it. You did tell us. Yeah. Oh, Lani, come on.
By chapter 5, you really start to realize that this might have mostly just been a passion book. Like that Lani Sarem wrote it maybe possibly about herself.
That's kind of what I was thinking throughout all this.
Like an idealized version of herself, or who she would be if she was living in this type of fantasy world.
Yeah, and how people might view her.
And how people might perceive her. That really is kind of what it feels like, and maybe is perhaps an answer to why it feels like there's also such a lack of editing, is that she kind of just like wrote it and then like put it out there because she was like, this is my passion project.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
So then we get into chapter 6 when we finally see Zaid admit to using magic with a K. And I think at this point we really start to pick up on the fact that this is part of her special skills. Is that she has access to what we come to find out is, in the universe of this book, real magic with a K.
So magic that is with a C.
Fake magic.
Fake magic.
Yes. Then we have the real type of magic with a K. Mm-hmm. Weird confrontation from Sophia to Zaid about dating/flirting with Mac.
Well, why would she care?
Well, it seems as though she used to have like a history with wanting to date Mac, but Mac does not date performers. And in chapter 6 and onward, that is repeated very often. Okay. That Mac does not date performers.
I am feeling more confident that Mac is going to be who she ends up with, because all of this screams like, you know what'll really fix my insecurity? If I can break through this person's like typical type, typically what they do, because I'm just so good that they have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really, for the next couple of chapters, most of it is kind of focused on this quote-unquote love triangle between Zaid, Mac, and Jackson. So Mac and Jackson are apparently competing for Zaid's affections.
Really?
Yeah.
Like Mac at this point is more openly...
Yes, they sort of become friends. They share a kiss. Yeah.
Okay.
I can't remember if Zaid and Jackson have shared a kiss at this point, but Zaid does go see, Jackson's the band leader for the theater,
right,
but he also just has a band and they go and perform. So Zaid does also go out and go see his band perform with a couple of the other like theater performers.
Yeah.
And they share like a drink and I think dinner too.
Right.
So the next couple of chapters are kind of dedicated to how this love triangle sort of plays out.
Okay.
Jackson also, by the way, is in a decently popular band known as the Plain White Tees.
What? Wait, which member?
A not real member of the Plain White Tees.
Dude, that is hilarious.
But let me tell you, despite not being a real member of the Plain White T's, everyone else in his band is a real member of the Plain White T's.
Wait, so, okay, which instrument does he like?
He's the lead, the band leader.
So is he the singer?
I'm assuming, yeah.
So
and guitar player.
They just said, we're going to take this guy out of Plain White T's and replace him with Jackson.
But everyone else is the same.
That is hilarious. This is so fanfic coded. Like, what are you doing? You can't do that, right?
That is correct.
All right.
Yeah. So like I mentioned, mostly about her relationships with these people. It is really hard to tell at this point as well where the book is going. We got a little bit of this lead up of Zayd having special skills, but we don't know why that's important. We don't know how that plays into the conflict.
Right.
Of the story. It's just kind of about her and these two guys at this point.
Okay.
We're going to skip ahead to chapter 14.
Okay. Because it's mostly that.
That's mostly what has been happening in the last 7 chapters. Yeah. So now we're going to skip ahead to chapter 14, where things start to get a little bit more plot interesting.
Okay.
Again. Okay. So Zayd and Charles have been working on this new illusion that they're going to introduce into the show. They start meeting in private, talking about it in secret. Then there's this weird moment that Mac sees where Charles and Zayd are very close together, and Charles rubs Zayd's cheek and leans in.
Oh, I don't like that.
Okay. Oh, and also during this whole thing, Mac overhears Zayd and Charles say, "I love you," to each other.
Oh. Also, real quick, so is this from multiple people's POV?
No.
Book? Oh.
No. There are certain passages that are italicized that are third person almost.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Very third person omniscient. There's a lot of this is what's happening and you can tell those characters' feelings, but they're intertwined into the normal chapters and it's just italicized paragraphs. Which is, again, kind of brings us back to perhaps this was more of a passion project where she kind of wanted that third person perspective to kind of get a full view of what the other characters are thinking and feeling, which makes sense, but it could have been done better, I think.
Yeah.
So this weird moment happens in chapter 14. Mac sees it. Okay. Mac then later confronts Zayd about it and says, "What are you doing? What's going on?
Yeah.
Are you and Charles together, et cetera, et cetera." Mac has a little bit of some anger issues, just a little bit, even though they're not really together.
Yeah.
Although she has, for the most part, kind of stopped talking to Jackson as well.
Oh.
Or at least he doesn't have as many chapters at this point. But, Mac is upset at this whole situation. He confronts Zayd about it. She essentially says, "Let's talk about this later. I have to do this illusion that Charles and I have been working on. We have to perform." And Mac is like, "I'm upset about this. I'm leaving." Okay. And
Okay.
he's supposed to be running the illusion board, but he is so upset that he decides to tell Cam, "You do it. I'm leaving.
Damn.
I don't want to be a part of this." And Zayd is like, "We'll talk about this later. I have to perform this illusion."
Yeah, very hothead.
So then we have another situation where she's jumping off of the railing into water again. But this time, I feel like the description was a little bit more specific. I think there is this time a pool of water.
Okay.
And I think everyone can see it versus the first time where it looked like it was just a stage, I think. And then she was jumping into, for her, water coming out of water, then fire.
Okay.
This time, she jumps off of the railing into water. There is lightning, sand, and an apple tree comes out.
Oh, wait, sand comes out. Or just...
I think there's just sand in existence. I don't really know.
Sand is in existence.
Well, because the lightning hits the sand, and then there's a glass figurine.
Oh.
So there's sand there.
So maybe around the pool.
Lightning, then an apple tree comes out.
This is crazy. What is happening?
Yes.
I was about to give her a little bit of shit for being a one-trick pony, but this is pretty different.
This is, you think it's going to be the same, right? Because she's jumping off the railing and you think, oh, another water, pool, fire situation. No, this time we have lightning.
Yeah, that is something.
And the apple tree. But unfortunately, something goes wrong.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So we have a little bit of conflict, finally.
Fine. Other than relationship drama.
Zaid faints.
Oh, no.
She faints. She happens to make it backstage. So she like finishes the illusion, but she's like in a lot of pain. And we don't know why, which is also kind of another theme that comes up in this book. Despite a lot of explaining of certain things, there is also like big picture plot points that we don't really know why this is happening.
Yeah. What a weird choice.
But she's in a lot of pain. She manages to finish the illusion. She makes it backstage. She faints, and there is a pool of blood around her. She's also bleeding.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
I think it's very serious. They call an ambulance. She has to be taken to the hospital. Mac decides that he is going to go to the hospital with her. Charles also goes. The doctor won't tell them anything, and Charles says, "No, it's okay. You can tell me. I'm her father."
What? Is he actually her father? Is this like a mic drop moment of like, oh shit?
Mac thinks to himself, is he actually her father? Or is he maybe just saying that?
Right, like is he just lying?
Is he maybe just lying so that he can get to, and all of this is written out. Like everything that you're thinking is written out into the book where Mac is like, oh, maybe Charles is just saying that he's her father. Like maybe he's not actually her father. I should talk to him and find out. Like,
yeah, but he did like caress her face and stuff, which while in one way I think is creepy, I mean, I guess maybe in a fatherly way that could make sense.
Correct. Charles admits that he is in fact Zaid's father.
Does she know this?
Apparently, yes.
This whole time, it's like, I'm actually going to go live with my dad.
Yeah, which I guess kind of makes sense for chapter 0. Why maybe Zaid's mom, Della, was upset at her leaving and going to be a performer like her father, because her father practices magic without a K.
Yeah.
And Della practices magic with a K. So maybe at this point you're starting to think that like, oh, maybe that's the reason why there's so much dissent here.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Is because of that difference of like what type of magic we practice,
yeah,
et cetera, et cetera.
But it's also that thing where, I mean, I think it maybe some people do like this and some people don't, but like it's that thing where like, okay, but we've been in the first person perspective and we didn't know this huge piece of information the whole time? Mm-hmm. What the hell?
So Charles and Mac have to take Zaid back to Della in Tennessee because Della is the only one that can fix what's wrong with Zaid, because it is an issue that has to deal with Zaid's special skills of magic with a K.
Okay, gotcha.
So they take her back to Tennessee. Della and Charles have a little bit of a moment. In the next couple of chapters, we sort of figure out how they met, how they fell in love, how they had Zaid.
Oh, dang.
Their whole story from start to finish of getting together and breaking up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very dramatic.
Some interesting points regarding that whole story. We learn that she tells Charles about his future. He doesn't believe it.
Oh.
But essentially says, you know, if I can prevent this bad thing that Della told me about her, or about my future, which is me dying, if I can prevent it, like, why not? Worst case scenario, you know, she's lying, like, I think the whole time. He ends up preventing his own death. They somehow get together after that. They have Zaid. Della still hasn't told Charles that, you know, she does do this tarot reading, fortune-telling situation, and Charles doesn't believe that, but she hasn't even expanded upon that into telling Charles that she also does magic with a K.
Uh-huh.
They have Zaid. Della tells Charles. Charles is upset about it, cheats on her. Kind of goes down this whole spiral. Della decides to leave with Zaid, and that's how Zaid grows up without Charles, and we don't know that Charles is her father. But Zaid apparently does know. It's just us as the reader that doesn't know.
Okay.
Those are kind of the important points of that whole situation. Thoughts?
So much. Like, on one hand, I understand being upset that, like, your partner doesn't tell you something that's kind of a big deal about them. Although I will admit that this is obviously something outrageous that, like, yeah, it's like, I wouldn't expect you to believe it, blah, blah, blah. But also, retaliating by cheating is a weird choice.
He cheats because he thinks that Della used her magic with a K to make him fall in love with her. So he cheats as a way to prove to himself that she didn't use magic with a K.
So specific.
To make him fall in love with her.
Okay. And again, I kind of was thinking about how, like, we had the moment with whatever her name, being, like, jealous of Zaid. And I'm just like, I can't believe at no point during that perspective, it's like, why would she be jealous? I'm just the daughter. Like,
yeah.
I'm not really a threat in that way.
Yeah. I mean, she definitely thought it was weird the whole time, but never said anything that's like, ew, that's my dad.
Yeah.
Mac eventually is like, what's wrong with her?
Finally, someone is asking the questions.
Mac says, why am I here? What's wrong with Zaid? What can we do to fix it? Della tells Mac that they have to do some sort of ritual where they put her on this, like, altar, and Mac has to stab her with what looks like a dagger, but is not a dagger because it is just magic with a K that will release all of the energy that's within Zaid and cure her.
That makes no sense.
Apparently, during Zaid's illusion, she made Mac a conduit of her illusion because she was tapping into chaos magic with a K, still capital C as well for chaos magic.
Interesting.
Chaos magic is super dangerous, unpredictable, so she needed somebody to be grounding in that magic. So Mac was supposed to be the grounding element for Zaid using this chaos magic so that she wouldn't, explode with chaos magic or use too much energy or have it be too dangerous of an illusion. But Mac and Zaid, if you remember, get into that argument and Mac walks out. So because he walked out, she wasn't able to use him to ground the energy and to ground the magic for her illusion, which is why she got sick.
Wow, Mac. So it's all your fault.
Yeah, that's even what he says. He's like, this is my fault.
Of course.
She says, I can't really explain it to you because we don't have time. But basically what you need to know is that you're going to need to stab Zaid with a dagger. But don't worry, it's not really a dagger. It will just look like a dagger. And Max says, excuse me?
Yeah, and he has to do it because he's the conduit.
Exactly.
So I'm guessing every time that this sort of would happen with anyone, the conduit would be a person. Because if you say chose a turtle, then you'd be fucked.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Good
That's
to know.
the whole situation. Mac decides, okay, fine. I'll do it. They perform this ritual. While this is happening, she's tied up on this altar. He says these words. He stabs her. There's a storm happening all around them. He releases the energy, or so it seems. Zaid is still pretty passed out. They decide they're going to take her inside. Max says, well, did it work? Della says, well, we're just going to have to wait and see. Eventually, she does get better. She says throughout most of these chapters, so because this book is in first person, most of these chapters that I have just been talking to you about from when Zaid passed out, essentially, and got sick all the way up until the point where she eventually does wake up in about like chapter 20, 19. She recognizes that this is what happened because after she got better and gained some of her strength back, she asked Charles, Della, and Mac if she could look into their memories and pull out what happened, so that she could tell us, the reader, what happened while she was sick.
I just feel like that is such a funny way of explaining that when you could just have different POVs and narrations and whatever.
No. She pulled from their memories.
Okay, so...
And that's how she knows what happened and how we now know what happened.
Does that also explain the italicized passages where we suddenly get other people's perspectives?
See, you would think, but this whole thing is not italicized.
Right.
All of these chapters are not italicized.
So it's like, why are we explaining this change, but not those other changes? That seems weird.
Great question.
All right, Lani.
So now we're at the end of the book. Zayd is fine now. She ends up going back to the theater in Las Vegas. Everybody sort of welcomes her. You know, Mac and Zayd are doing much better. He believes to some extent what is going on with Zayd and her special abilities with magic with a K. And I'm assuming that this is supposed to be explained later on if there were a continuation to this story.
Oh, okay. I was just thinking to myself, we got all of the stuff about the magic in some way, but we also still don't know exactly what her powers are.
Correct.
Like, this is called Handbook for Mortals. Is she immortal, or is she mortal?
No, I think she is immortal because Mac is mortal.
Okay.
And that is, they say that in the book.
Okay.
That Mac is mortal. And Mac at the end of the very last chapter says, I'm glad we're okay. I'm glad you're okay. Is there a book somewhere about this? And Zayd says, a book? Like, what do you mean? A book for what? And he goes, a handbook for mortals.
Oh my God.
The end.
That's, yep.
And there you have it, folks. That is Handbook for Mortals by Lani Sarem.
Man, I gotta say, there is a degree of this that
Book cover.
I kind of want to read the book.
There you go.
To just experience it firsthand. Mm-hmm. But also, I don't know if it would be worth it.
I am going to tell you right now that I think you've read it.
I got what there was.
You've read it.
Yeah. Man, we just really lost Jackson out of nowhere, and it's just like, well, it's not him.
Yeah. Well, I think he ends up like touring with his band anyway. The Plain White Tees.
The Plain White Tees. Which is the most hilarious thing I've ever heard of in a book.
Yeah. Overall, it wasn't very well written.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
I think we all got that.
I do want to put a disclaimer and say that as a writer myself, I do feel like there is some sort of grace there where I have to say that it does take a level of courage to do something like that. So good on Lani Sarem for having this idea, deciding to go for it and write and publish this book. I think that's great. I do, again, think that she had this idea, she wrote it, didn't edit it, didn't really have a lot of people look at it, decided to just publish it and go for it. And because it wasn't very well thought through, or at least feels like it wasn't very well thought through, I think maybe perhaps that contributed to it not doing very well with the public. I think the idea was very good, very interesting. I think I may have mentioned that at the beginning of the pod. The premise was there, I think. There was at the very least a thread of premise that would have been very interesting.
Yeah.
I think maybe if it had just been thought through a little bit more, edited a little bit more, it could have been something even greater than what we got from it.
It's like she had an idea of like what a fantasy type book looks like or what these types of stories look like, and sort of just recreated it from memory without really thinking through like that later portion. Because again, like you said, like clearly she was intending for this to be some sort of series where you would expect that this would get explained. And it's like, I really think there's a lot of value in thinking through that even from the first book.
Yeah. How did you feel after your reading of the book?
I thought it was funny. But yeah, I kind of agree that I think that there was something to this idea. But yeah, based on like the small snippets that you shared and stuff like that, it just doesn't sound like it. I feel bad, but like knowing myself personally, I know I'm not a writer. I don't think that I could write this very well. I think I could maybe come up with a good idea for a book, but I don't think I could write it. And I feel like maybe that's kind of what happened with Lani. Like maybe she's a great ideas person, but maybe is not necessarily talented in the form of writing.
Yes. I think perhaps maybe that's the idea of maybe what happened without really knowing, you know, because unfortunately we can't really ask her. Although maybe we could, because it does seem like off the page she's pretty involved with the reviews and the ratings that go on with her book. So I don't know if you knew this about this book, but you may be surprised, possibly, maybe not, but possibly, to find out that this book did reach the top of the New York Times bestsellers list.
Really? How?
Yes. When the book topped the bestsellers chart, there were a lot of people that thought, that's interesting. I've never heard of this book before. How is it possible that it is number one, like a number one New York Times best-selling book?
Yeah.
What ended up happening was another young adult fiction writer looked into it and saw that it topped the list because it had over 5,000 pre-orders for the book. This young adult author found this out and thought, that is really interesting, because as people have been saying, nobody's heard of this book before. How is this possible? Who is pre-ordering this book? Allegedly, this book ended up topping the New York Times bestsellers list because of all of these pre-orders that were put in by Lani Sarem herself.
Oh, no. Wait, how does that even work? Did she think this through? Oh my God, no. So she spent a bunch of her money to buy her own book. And sure, you would get back some of it, but also you're not gonna get back all of it.
So now, this happens and everybody is like, whoa, that's crazy. First of all, you shouldn't really be able to buy your way on to the New York Times bestsellers list.
Yeah.
Even though that's kind of how it happens. But with her doing it herself, allegedly shouldn't be allowed, right?
Yeah.
Lani Sarem says, okay, that is not what happened. I have been promoting this book at all of these conventions, and people have been placing the pre-orders because I've been telling them about it.
As someone who has a podcast, I sure wish it was that easy to get people into the things that you do. Because it's not. It simply is not that.
Lani Sarem said, it's honestly kind of silly that people are coming up to me and saying that, I'm a scam artist, essentially. I'm paraphrasing. Because I topped this New York Times bestseller list and they don't see how it's possible because they've never heard of the book. I have done things differently than what you typically might expect from a young adult fantasy romance book. And that's why my book has been so successful.
And what is that? What is that, Lani? Going to conventions? I've seen so many authors do stuff like that. Are you kidding me? That is what they do. That is normal for advertising for a book.
And that is the scandal behind Handbook for Mortals by Lani Sarem.
Okay.
That was also a big red flag for there to have been 5,000 orders made in such a short period of time, because even the best of the best authors that doesn't happen ever. So that is why these people started looking into it and thinking that it was strange that this was happening, not just because they'd never heard of it, even though nobody also at this point had ever heard of it. There were maybe a couple of blog posts written about the coming out of this book, but nothing too serious. There wasn't a lot of promotion going into this book, not a lot of buzz going into the publication and release of this book.
Right.
So all of these cards are kind of stacked against her. And the fact that she never admits to it and is kind of like, no, I never did that. I'm just, an inventive author. And that's why this happened is kind of insane. The fact that you were being accused of this controversy, that whether or not it was you or maybe it was somebody close to you, like a family member or a friend, whatever, it's clearly somebody within your inner circle, because who else would do something like this to promote your book and get you to top this list other than somebody that cared about it on a personal level?
Right.
So the fact that this has happened and you never acknowledge it and instead double down on the fact that it's just because you're that good is a little insane.
Yeah.
So all of this happens. She never admits to it. New York Times ends up launching this sort of investigation, and within a day, she is taken off of the New York Times bestsellers list.
Oh my God. That is so embarrassing. She really did not think through any of this.
Yeah. And then it's publicized and all of this, information comes out. She's called a scam artist, and it ends up being pretty bad publicity for her book in the long term, which may or may not have had anything to do with her 1.3 online rating for the book.
Right. Yeah, that is hard. Like, when you know that there's a controversy, it's like, oh, well, I just have this rating because everyone's mad about this whole situation, and it's not even my fault. Like, people just like my book. People just were buying my book. What am I supposed to say? And then, and then when you read it, it's like, well, maybe it's not all because of that.
Well,
I mean, you could certainly read this book and come to this conclusion and have no idea that there was a controversy.
after all of this happens, a lot more things start coming out, not even related to the book anymore, mostly now related to Lani Sarem. A lot of things come out about her personality and kind of, you know, these characteristics, these traits that she has that are maybe not so positive.
Yeah.
So allegedly, a lot of things are coming out about her being maybe a little bit misogynistic.
Ooh.
Possibly a little bit racist.
Oh.
And I didn't dive too deep into where exactly those claims are coming from.
Yeah.
But they more so, the scandal kind of turns into, I guess, an attack on Lani Sarem as a person.
Yeah.
We do also have some essentially first person, maybe second person complaints, I guess, that start coming out about people who have worked with her as well. Namely, the bands that she has previously managed, like the Plain White Tees.
She managed them? Oh my God. Why would you name drop a band that you managed in a book like this?
Apparently, she was fired, allegedly, from having managed the band.
Oh my God. Why would you do this? Is just gonna
But it's
so
very interesting that
worse.
she worked with them and then decided to name drop them in her book.
It's so different if it's just like you kind of just pick a random band. Like, obviously that's what my mind went to. Like, you just picked a random band, decided to put them in this book. But you have actual experience with these people that you are specifically writing about. It definitely crosses some lines that it's like you wrote these people into a book without their consent.
Yeah.
And, like, you're not even trying to pretend that they're different people. You literally are pretending it's them. Oh, my God.
Oh, yes.
Girl.
Yeah. Overall, people have continued as well to criticize Lani Sarem for kind of how she not only upheld herself with the controversy with the book, but of course all of the other attacks as well on her personality, which, you know, we never really want to attack anybody for their personality.
Yeah, it's hard. It's like, I don't want to be mean.
Yes, yeah. But back to kind of talking about what she did with her book, the fact that she bought her way onto being number one, surpassing, I want to say, The Hate You Give, which is a book with a person of color. It's about a person of color. The racial implications of you kind of surpassing that book for your own personal gain and it not getting the attention that it deserved. You know, there's a lot of like societal complications with everything that she did, from, again, the controversy with her buying her way onto the list with her book, and also her like personality traits that kind of came out because she did that and her name was kind of thrown into the limelight.
These are sort of things that I guess you could even say that we did say about the book that seem to be really true to like herself in all of this, is that it truly just feels like she didn't think through any of this. Like it feels like I don't know. I don't necessarily want to say self-centered, but like it does feel like maybe she's kind of immature, kind of has like a very narrow scope of like what's important, and is just focusing kind of on herself, and is like really not thinking of the repercussions, really not thinking about how any of it is going to affect other people, and is just making a lot of mistakes as a result of that. Allegedly. Who knows?
Allegedly. I do want to say, last thing kind of on Lani Sarem herself, I do want to say that when all of these critiques started coming out about her actions with the book and then also her actions outside in her own personal life, when all of that information started coming out, she did sort of go on the defensive. All of the additional comments that came out about her, she was also very much like going on the defensive about being like, this is so unfair that people are saying this about me, to the point that allegedly she would respond to these comments as not herself, but defending herself.
No, stop.
Yes. Allegedly.
God, is the hole not deep enough, Lani? Please stop digging deeper. What are you doing?
I know that there are some websites, blogs that did sort of like a reverse search on who left comments, IP addresses, things like that, and they were all tied in some way to Lani Sarem or her website domain.
Oh my God. She is in over her head so bad. This girl needs her computer taken away from her. She needs her phone taken away from her. Whatever she's got, just take it away. Just go touch some grass. Don't worry about other people. Don't worry about proving anything to anyone. Just maybe just do some crafting. Maybe just like do something else. I think you need to stop worrying so much about what people think of you, which again feels very like something that we could see about her in the book itself, is that she thinks and cares a lot about what people think of her.
The journalist in me, I know I've said it a lot, but the journalist in me is very much like, all of this is alleged. But regardless of whether or not it's true, there is so much information about this if you decide to kind of dive into it yourself. And we've only covered like very roughly all of the scandals and controversies surrounding her in the book. So definitely feel free to do your own research. But even though all of it is kind of like, allegedly, this is what happened, there is a lot of information about it out there, which is not a good sign that it is all fake.
Right.
Like, you know, there's just way too much for it to not be rooted in some sort of true story.
Right. When you are someone like that, I feel like, yeah, you're going to leave your tracks. Like, it feels like someone who is kind of spinning out of control and feels as though she needs to contain it. But by doing so, you just keep making it worse. And again, which is why I'm telling you, girl, you just need to, and granted, I know this book came out a while ago. Like, she probably has, like, taken a step back by now. It's been several years. But, like, yeah, at a certain point, you just got to stop.
Well, I don't know about that, Carly, because I think book 2 is still coming.
Really? Are you joking?
Lani Sarem is allegedly still working on book 2, and book 2 is still coming out, apparently. Although it is probably unlikely that it will happen considering the controversy and the scandals that were surrounding the first book with the book, the author, and the publisher itself.
Okay, gotcha. Good.
But I don't know, guys.
I don't know, man. Maybe
Keep an eye out. Keep an eye out.
You never know. I mean, good golly, if there is a part 2, I want to look into that. I need to know more. Lani, you do you, girl. Keep digging. Sorry, I know I said not to, but actually I've changed my mind. If you're going to write the second book, let's go ahead. Let's keep digging. Wow. I cannot believe. Thank you so much for putting so much effort into looking into this, because this was certainly more than I think we bargained for.
Oh, yeah.
This was not just a book.
I just want to say that, like, I had to cut it down a lot. Like, there's a lot of information out there. So really, like, genuinely, feel free to look up more about the book and the author yourself.
Wow. That was the last off the shelf episode for the year.
I genuinely at first honestly was kind of, like I said at the beginning of the episode, kind of upset to have to like read an extra book. Not really upset, but more so like, oh, I lost the draft and I have to read this book. Naturally. And like, it's apparently really, you know, poorly rated. Like, is it going to be difficult to get through? But genuinely, it was such a treat getting to like do the research and like look up all this stuff and really just like gossip about it with you. And be like, Carly, listen to this.
Yeah, I cannot believe it. I really hope everyone else enjoyed the sort of gossip session that we got out of this.
Yes.
Because I had fun.
I really, truly hope so. Yeah, this was our last off-the-shelf episode of the year. Can you believe?
No, I cannot. But fret not, everyone. We do have one more episode of the year.
Oh, good.
Our last book club episode. And we're ending the year with a bang because this is going to be about Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. as we've referenced all year. Yeah. And also, fun fact about this next episode too, even though it is a book club episode, you definitely can expect a little bit more of an off-the-shelf vibe to it. We will be talking about the book, but we also are going to be like playing some games and stuff like that, because we are not going to be talking about this book alone. We will be having on the pod with us the hosts of the Exploring the Meadow podcast here with us, Allie and Carissa, to talk all things Twilight.
We're very excited to be doing our first collaboration here on the pod, so make sure to give their podcast a listen as well if you just want a little bit more information on kind of what they do, or if you're a big Twilight fan yourself, definitely give their podcast a listen. And we will be doing an episode with all four of us on their podcast as well.
Yes.
I'm not sure when they plan to release that. I'm sure we'll probably talk about it in the next episode when our episode with them comes out. But you'll be getting kind of like 2 episodes, I guess, with all 4 of us.
Yeah.
In the episode. So that's pretty exciting. We're really excited to have them on the pod and kind of get to work with our first collaboration.
Yeah, same. And I just finished the book yesterday.
Yes, and Carly has never read it, so it'll also be a very exciting episode.
Yeah, I'm very excited to talk about all this.
Yes, I think it'll be a great end to our 2025 season. So make sure to keep an eye out for that episode. It'll be coming out on Tuesday, December 16th. And it'll be our last episode of the year. Sad.
Aww, I'm gonna miss you guys.
And we will be taking a break for the holiday season, so we won't be back until mid-January. I want to say January 13th will be when our first episode of 2026 comes out, but don't hold me to that. We'll say it in our last episode when we'll be coming back.
Yes, that's a good point.
Yes, but we will be taking a break for the holiday season to kind of rest up and prepare for all of the new shenanigans that we'll be getting into in 2026. So now more than ever, make sure to follow us on social media, because a lot of what we'll be doing over the holiday break we'll just be posting on there, so you guys can keep up with us on there until we return in 2026.
Yes, and if you enjoyed this episode, or if you have enjoyed any of our other episodes, feel free also to like, rate, whatever, depending on whatever platform.
Comment and subscribe.
Yes, whatever platform you're on, if you want to interact in some way, that would be great.
Thank you so much for listening to the latest episode and the last off-the-shelf episode of the 2025 year of Read Receipts with Carly and Sam. All of the content that you hear in the episode is curated, recorded, and edited by us truly, with special thanks to the authors of the books that we cover and Pixabay for the music that we play. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever it is you like to listen. We're on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. So, like Carly said, head on over, subscribe, give us some likes, give us some comments, really just interact with us. We love to see it. And make sure to follow us on our social media accounts at the Read Receipts Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for more of our content in between shows and during our holiday break. Until our next read.
Bye.
Bye.